Next week on Thursday, Chapter 22. Not Again. David was a model of patience while I tried and finally settled on a new winter coat. Pure wool and cashmere, ankle length, with a velvety faux-fur trim around the collar and cuffs. He made me feel like a new bride, a pampered princess. We linked arms and wandered around the mall in search of ice cream. Simple, quiet pleasures. I remembered to email Harold when I got home in the afternoon. Happy Yom Kippur. I forgot that you would not be working today. David surprised me this morning. His company was closed for the day, so I couldn't have come down anyway. He took me shopping for a birthday present. We went out to lunch and saw a movie. Do you want me to come down on Tuesday, or shall we leave as is until Thursday? Your call. Lots of love, Selena. Tuesday dawned bright and beautiful, a mellow, tawny kind of day, with flecks of golden sunshine splashed all over it. I didn't feel a year older. Happy birthday to me. I picked up an email message. I didn't come to work on Monday, being it was Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. I had no strength to go to synagogue, but reflected at home and thanked the Lord for my blessings. How is Tuesday 5 to 5:30? Short, but... Harold. I replied, I will be there. Half a loaf is better than none. Selena. I arrived a few minutes before 5 o'clock. The office seemed deserted after the frenzy of the past few days. Kathy looked up as the door beeped behind me. I understood instantly what her dismayed expression signified. Not again. I have an appointment. I made an effort to sound nonchalant as I attempted to brush aside the familiar feeling of foolishness. I responded to her brief nod with feigned breeziness. Is he with a client? I remembered how upset Harold had been the last time I made a hasty exit. I'll wait for a few minutes. Things just weren't the same since Annie left. I picked up a large print homemaker's magazine and flipped through the pages. I couldn't ignore the overwhelming sense of discomfort growing in my belly. Here I was, waiting, again. He might not be able to see me. Again. Why was I writhing inside? Kathy walked into Harold's office after several minutes. I heard a low murmur of voices. She's telling him I'm here. Harold emerged within moments. His gait was awkward and dangerously unsteady. He leaned backwards as he moved to maintain his equilibrium. He was wearing what had now become a uniform, the long-sleeved, cuffless stretchy top hanging loosely over dark sweatpants. The shirt was a burnt shade of orange. He was bones and angles, a clothes horse with garments flung all over it. Harold lowered himself into the chair by my side. Directly between and behind us was the square window behind which Kathy sat. She bent assiduously over her work. I had an odd feeling she was experiencing as much discomfort as I. I was greatly constrained by her presence. Harold looked contrite. You have a client with you, I murmured. He nodded. His eyes brimmed over with words of apology he was unable to utter. He took my hand as he often did. I was acutely conscious of Kathy's presence and began to gabble. You look well. I said. Liar, liar, pants on fire. You've put on some weight, I continued desperately. He hadn't. Your nose is growing, Pinocchio. I grabbed my handbag and stood up. Kathy's eyes bored into me. I had to get out of the place. I'll be in on Thursday, I mumbled without pausing to say goodbye. It took a valiant effort to ignore the sadness in his eyes. I bolted out of the office. I was driving out of the parking lot when I realized I hadn't acknowledged Kathy in farewell. What's got into you, you silly woman? He didn't know it was my birthday. I was peeved to find no email message the next day. The least he could do was apologize. I logged onto my email and wrote, I know you are busy, so I won't come down tomorrow. We will meet next week if you can spare the time. Love, Selena. Fingers of fall sunshine caressed my neck and shoulders as I stepped out through the front door. I was eager to walk. The trees were aflame with gold and russet, orange, vermilion, and beige. Sudden soft breezes sent bright leaves floating earthwards like so many spatters of blood and splotches of butter. I came to my enchanted woods and crossed the wrought iron bridge, pausing to lean against the rail and peer down at the bubbling brook. If I squinted, I could make out the shadowy darting form of a fish, a minnow, perhaps. I averted my eyes away from the rusty bicycle and shopper's drug mart cart, half submerged in the shallow water. How dare they dump such things in this place? Dry leaves and twigs crunched underfoot. My feet moved in rhythm to the song of carefree joy playing in my heart. I was grateful to be alive on this glorious autumn day. Nature did such things to me. I really should have been looking for another job. I refused to entertain the thought of returning to work. There was a message from Harold in my inbox. I'm so sorry. I was with Gloria and the reputedly interested buyer of my practice. The appointment was supposed to produce an offer which would have been short. She came up with an airy-fairy pro forma that gave the business no value. It took a lot of discussion to convince her that she ignored the fact of ongoing work. She is coming back on Friday. I'm no longer optimistic. But I digress. I have abused you once again. I'm off to the hospital tomorrow for more tests. Please call before you come. Love, Harold. He had also responded to my earlier message. As you choose, but I had hoped that you would forgive me for my miscalculation of time. Tomorrow begins in hospital at 9 a.m. I fully expected to be back, but if you won't come, then I won't. Love, Harold. I regretted my hastiness and wrote back. I should be used to feeling foolish by now. It has happened so many times. Maybe I will in time. I dislike the feeling of being an intruder. I will come at 3:45. I will make sure to call in future. It is always such a rush and juggle to get out there. I wish I didn't have to come to the office. It doesn't matter if you cannot make it tomorrow. Don't rush and stress yourself. Life never works out the way we want it to. Joe's wife is dying, and I had planned to spend the evening with the two of them in the hospital. I'll be able to get there a little earlier if you are not in the office as planned. See you tomorrow, hopefully. If not, have a wonderful weekend and happy Thanksgiving. Selena. It was past 9:30 in the evening when I realized Harold wouldn't get the email on time. He didn't know I planned to come. It was not a genteel hour to make telephone calls, but I had to. I dialed the Wiseman residence. Hello, Gloria. It's Selena. I was hesitant. She seemed happy to hear my voice. To be continued.